think it was a great meeting because it does show how various natural societies, how we work together, and with an opportunity to go face to face, we better understand the needs of the Romanian Red Cross and how possibly we can be of greater assistance, which would be our goal. And whenever you know someone, it's always easier to have the conversations and solve problems going forward.
Yeah, because finally it's about the people.
It is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's relationships, and I have such respect for the Romanian Red Cross, and to have the opportunity to meet the new Secretary General has been really a positive experience, and I'm hoping this is the first of many meetings that we have going forward.
What do you think about the humanity concept store?
It's fantastic. It's just fantastic for so many reasons. Not only does it meet a demand that they need, right? But think of the dignity. You get to come in as a refugee and pick what you need, what your diet's about. I think it could be replicated in most where we have large immigrant camps, or even when we're just serving the most vulnerable in the U.S. and some of our cities. This is the concept that should be copied.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Of course. I love volunteering for the Red Cross. I mean, why else would you do it for 43?
43 years.
43 years. I think we're getting close to 44, but let's go with 43. We had a volunteer in my home chapter that volunteered until she was 101. We had to find a 75-year pin, so she was an inspiration.
How did you discover Red Cross?
I always tell this story. A friend of mine was the chapter or branch chairman, or president as you would say, and he called me up and he said, "Kate, I need you to come chair one meeting." And I said, "Ron, I think the world of you, but I am really busy and I don't have the time." And he said, "Kate, you always have time for the Red Cross." So of course I came, and I now use that with everyone. You always have time for the Red Cross. So 43 years later, I'm still going to that one meeting.
What was your schedule back then? What was your job?
From my neighborhood to Geneva. It's quite the story. I learned how to swim, taught by the Red Cross. I learned first aid, got my Girl Scout or Girl Guide badge for first aid from the Red Cross. And then I knew the story of Clara Barton and the support that she'd given over the years. And they're very present in our community. They ran special transportation. We responded to disasters. And kind of the best people are at the Red Cross. So once you're there and you see these amazing people, I wanted to be one of them.
Amazing people that make lots of sacrifices.
Because
they always have to be there.
Yes and no. I tell everyone as a volunteer, I work for an emotional paycheck. And by that I mean, there's so much negativity in the world that you can choose to see the good side or the bad side of people. And when you're at the Red Cross, and if you go to a house fire, and these are people you've never met, you may never see them again, but there are people who got up in the middle of the night to help them through that crisis in their life. So to me, I always say I've gotten much more than I've ever been able to give. My best friends, the most gratifying work, a better community, a sense of values to teach my children, all from the Red Cross. It's just amazing.
It sounds like the best way to change the world.
It's one person at a time, right? And it's modeling the best in humanity, accepting everyone for who they are, offering help without an expectation of any payback whatsoever. And I happen to believe it would be a better place if everyone volunteered for the Red Cross. My early mentor in the U.S., at one point in my life, I was probably 10 years into this, and I had a very big job at a company, and I had little kids and elderly parents, and sometimes you just get a bit overwhelmed, and I was, can I do this? And my friend Todd said to me, I was talking to him, he said, Kate, would you want to live in any community where there wasn't a Red Cross? I said, no. And now, as I serve at the Federation, I think, do we want any country where there isn't a Red Cross or a Red Crescent? I think the answer to that is no. And so that keeps me engaged. One of the great inventions, if you will, of mankind.
What was the hardest part in all these 43 years?
That's a really, really good question. Some of the hard part, of course, is as a volunteer you have to manage and juggle priorities, and sometimes it's easier than others to do. Recently I was in Ethiopia, and I went to where there'd been a civil war, where a hospital had, our hospital, the Red Cross Hospital, had been absolutely decimated. And to stand there and think, why would someone destroy the only hospital in 250 miles? Why would you do that? I couldn't, it's hard for me to understand that kind of cruelty. So that was hard. But going back to your earlier question, so we went down to a camp, and there was a young person, I'm guessing early 20s, who was feeding 93 children every day, one meal. It was keeping them alive. On her own, every day, she went around, collected food or money to be able to buy food to feed them. And these little children, 8 and 9, would sit so patiently waiting for the only meal that they would have. Now, when they got it, they were very hungry. And it made me sad and teary-eyed, but then it's like I said, I looked at this young person and thought, through the Red Cross, she's showing the best of humanity to the worst of humanity.
Yeah, there is hope.
There is hope. Every time I really go to some Red Cross response, it's almost the best experience. Sometimes because I work a lot in the finances and the numbers and the audit, it's easy to lose sight of what we're all about and what we're really doing. And so just periodically, I'll go out or I'll go to a blood center and talk to a blood donor. And here they are, they're taking time out of their day to give one of the most precious gifts, the gift of life that someone could give. They're not getting paid. It's not particularly pleasant. It's not unpleasant, but, and there they are. And it just makes you again realize there are a lot of good people in the world, and we're the organization that can facilitate them to give back to their community. Again, how great is that? I mean, truly.
Yeah. Do you remember your first beneficiary?
Oh, let me...
That you met?
I told today, and it's kind of, I don't know if it answers exactly. I live in the desert in Arizona. We only get 7 inches of rain a year, but we had the highest drowning rate in the U.S., the highest. And that was because many people have their own swimming pool. And I mean, it's very common, all economical. And toddlers would wander out and would drown. And unfortunately, I knew a family whose toddler that happened, and he did drown. And so we took it upon ourselves to go to the legislature to required that you had to have fencing if you have children, so that children won't drown. So sometimes I think of him as my first beneficiary, and that we took a tragedy and turned it into a positive. And drowning rates just plummeted. We no longer led the nation in drownings, and I think that's a real accomplishment.
Why should anyone volunteer nowadays?
Why should anyone volunteer today? I would say do it for yourself. The organization is great, but it will make you more grateful with what you have. It will allow you to see the best in people. You'll learn new skills. And in my case, you'll make lifelong friends if you do it long enough. And the list is so long of, like I said, your community will be better. Just the quality of your life will be better if you volunteer. So just do it.
Even if you have everything at your home, if you have all the friends, I don't know.
Well, you know, don't we all need more kindness in our lives? Don't we all need to be reminded of what all we have and how fortunate we are? Whether it be material things or good health. And if you have a skill that you can share, it just helps your self-esteem and helps your mental health. You know, I always feel better after I've had the opportunity to meet new Red Cross friends, which I hope, and so I can't imagine not volunteering for the Red Cross.
How would you describe a volunteer?
There are different kinds of volunteers. I was at one time the National Chair of Volunteers of the American Red Cross. So the ones that were our disaster volunteers, high energy, they loved that rush if there was something that had to be done right now, right? They were just into it. First aid volunteers who taught first aid, they were very much the teachers. This is what we need to do. This is how you do it. Very, very disciplined. And then you had the quiet people like me, quite frankly, who could work in the background, so help process donations, to assure that the books were in order, that, you know, we're kind of time and order people that were, I'm thrilled that my skills have been able to help this humanitarian cause. So my point of all that is, no matter what your skills are, no matter what your personality is, we have a place for you at the Red Cross. There's a place that you will feel at home, and when you go home at night, you'll go, gosh, that was a great day.
You practically described us all.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for volunteers from Romania?
My advice for volunteers from Romania that I've met, please keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. The fact of what you've done with refugees, your innovative fundraising, your welcoming of people from all over the world. You're obviously valued in your community, whether it be through first aid or feeding programs. Just keep doing what you're doing, only do more of it.
How would you describe your visit here?
Well, this is my second visit here, and every time I come, I'm enjoying it more, so you may never get rid of me. Here is a national society who isn't looking to the past. They have a very proud past. They're looking to the future of how do they serve the Romanian people in a more effective, efficient way. How do they serve migrants with respect and humanity? And to a person, you have been warm, open, friendly, knowledgeable. Can't ask for more.
How would you describe the Red Cross in one word?
Ooh, you keep asking hard questions. Well, necessary. I think we've never been more necessary than before. Look at what's happening with climate change, geopolitical, with our youth being challenged with mental health issues. We as the Red Cross are uniquely positioned worldwide.